are currently being recorded, so your image and voice is recorded. I'm just reading this sheet. So today we have Paul from Board of Health to talk to us first. So we'll start there because we have
Good
nothing
evening.
really exciting.
I'm here really just to not make any kind of formal request, but to give capital planning a heads up on things that are on the burner, particularly with DEP. They've resurrected their activity since COVID, and we are now undergoing a third-party transfer station review, which entails that we have to hire an outside engineering firm to come in and do this third-party inspection. They will create a report which they'll bounce off of us before they present it to DEP. The cost of that engineering for work is $5,000. Currently, the board feels that we can cover that within our existing budget, even though it's coming mid-cycle in our fiscal year. The second part that has to happen is a third-party review of our old landfill, which we have not used since 1983. That's when we opened up our transfer station.
Where's the old landfill?
Right where the transfer station is.
Okay.
That one is more of a black hole. We have an estimate for again, from the engineering firm. We're using Ty and Bond, highly reputable, maybe a little on the pricey side, but they have a relationship with DEP, and I just felt that was the simplest and easiest way to go right now. That one is $6,000. I have not signed that contract yet because I wanted to see how working with Ty and Bond went with this first contract, because never having worked with them before. It is something that we are going to have to do. It's mandated by DEP. I have so far a decent telephone relationship, an email relationship with the section chief from DEP. But that engineering report is going to identify the term DEP likes to use as deficiencies. Mm-hmm. And our deficiencies, I know of at least a couple. One is we have no monitoring wells down there, never have had, even though they were suggested at one point back in the early 80s. They were never put in. There will be some test holes dug to see what we have for cover material on the landfill. So these deficiencies will have to be addressed. And again, there's going to be a little bit of, I feel pretty confident that there'll be some give and take between us and DEP, because, you know, the landfill, it was always just a very residential landfill, not an industrial landfill, not like the Hudson one on Gates Pond Road, which I brought to their attention. I said that the Board of Health has more concern with the status of that than our own landfill, because that was an industrial landfill, and there were plating shops and all kinds of things in Hudson. So I did that as just kind of a little posturing, and DEP was amenable, and subsequently they sent out a couple of their people to inspect that landfill. The results of that, I don't know. I did accompany them on that inspection, just trying to make sure that Berlin has a presence in this whole scheme of things. So getting back to ours, the deficiencies, as I said, I'll repeat, will be monitoring wells. There'll be some test holes dug. There may be some testing of local domestic water supplies. Right now, it's kind of basically, it's kind of I don't know what's going to happen. But I know a couple of those things will definitely happen. Those are not covered in the engineering quote. And those are gonna be costs that come down the road. I'm trying to space the transfer station and the landfill inspections and the requirements out as best I can. So far, DEP is, they're okay. I think they realize that we're a small community, because I said, you're hitting me with this in the middle of a fiscal year, I just can't pull money out of a hat. And he was appreciative of that. I think their interest is to see that we keep taking steps forward, small, large, whatever. And that's certainly the board's intention, because we want to get this cleaned up, because ultimately, I would like, personally, I think we have a wasted resource with the acreage at the landfill, where it could be a solar field that generates revenue for the town. But before we can do that, we've got to get an okay from the DEP that we can install one. And that could very well involve closing costs of bringing in material, shaping the topography, and I'm not sure what else. And I know in other communities larger than ours, that can easily be $200,000. Don't know if we're gonna get hit with that, but just kind of throw it out on the radar that I won't say the whim of the DEP, but they hold a stick.
For sure.
And we've got to do what we can to work with them and within our own constraints as best as possible.
Was the original landfill covered properly and?
To the best of my knowledge, I did some research. Our landfill opened in 1930.
Yeah.
Talking to the only highway super that would have any kind of memory, the others have passed, is Denny Bartlett. And, he grew up in town, so even when he wasn't a super, he was going to the landfill shooting rats and whatever. But he and I are scheduled to do a walk, and he's gonna tell me where different things were located. But back at least in the 70s, as far back as the 70s, trenches were dug for garbage, refuse was buried separately, and they burned off wood waste. To the best of my knowledge and his memory, we were never a burn dump where we just burned trash.
Right.
And I tip my hat to our forefathers that they were somewhat on top of things and ahead of the game there, because it's just so easy. And as it is, landfills are always put in wetlands because nobody could do anything with wetlands, so you just fill them in with trash. I mean, that's true all over the country, frankly. So Denny and he'll help me map out so that when I'm dealing more in depth and in person with DEP and the engineering firm, this is where the garbage trenches were. I mean, they're long gone by now. And I remember being on, I think it goes back to Steve, actually, when you and I were on the board way back when.
That was in the mid-70s.
Yeah, I mean, Wheeler, forget his name. His contract for covering at the landfill was like $8,000 a year. And it wasn't much, and I think we were open 1 or 2 days a year or something like that. So things were, to the best of my research, things have been pretty organized down there since at least the 70s. Prior to that, there's nobody really around that can shed any light on it.
That's true. We'll let you know about Ty and Bond. I've dealt with them. Good people. They are pricey. I was in a facility in Northborough with people 2 doors down from us, contaminated water.
Mm-hmm.
So we had wells
Okay.
on our property. So, but they were our guys. They're the ones that did all our work.
Okay.
That I'm going back in the 80s and 90s with that. But they worked, good company to work with, just letting you
Yeah.
know, that's just letting you know that.
So far, the individual,
Yeah.
the engineer that I'm
Yeah.
working with is, you know, he's a younger guy, but knowledgeable, and, they're not trying to make mountains out of molehills. They
No.
just, you know, they got a job, let's get the job done,
Yep.
this is what we need to do, which is, you know, very professional, and
honestly,
that's
I-
what we want.
And honestly, I don't think that's bad price,
No, I don't think so either.
considering what other engineering projects in town have been.
Right.
I mean, they gave me the list of the different titles and what, you know, the smorgasbord of this engineer gets $180 a day, or an hour, I should
Yeah.
say, not a day.
We used to do days, remember?
Yeah, we used to do days, now
Um,
it's by the hour.
I know one of the engineering firms that do those test holes, I think they're up in, right off Route 2, I think it's GeoSource.
GeoSearch,
Yeah,
Source
GeoSearch or
Search.
Search, yeah.
GeoSearch, I think it is, yeah.
They're the ones that do a lot of, that's what they do, that's their line of work. And basically, they put maybe a 3-inch hole in the ground, put pipes in it, and they have them capped, and that's how they get their testing.
Oh, the other thing I didn't mention is they may, I hope this doesn't happen, they may request methane monitoring wells. And,
Oh.
yeah,
But you know,
I was in the solid waste industry for over 15 years, and I've been in a lot of landfills throughout the Northeast, New York, Pennsylvania, and our landfill is a fly speck
yeah,
compared to problematic landfills that really require a lot of attention.
Malone and Stowe.
We could go on.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another day. You know, I don't see, you know, and hopefully that'll be a little give and take with DEP. Do we need methane? You know,
Yeah.
we've been closed for 40 years, and, you know, I talked to one guy, he said, well, you know, methane can travel horizontally, and, you know, you got houses nearby, and I'm going, well, they haven't blown up, and nobody's complained, so, you know, look, I come from maybe too much of a common sense, practical standpoint, but, you know, it'll be what it'll be, and that's really why I'm here, is to let you guys know, we're dealing with some balls up in the air and don't know how they're gonna fall.
So when do you think that $6,000 one will be coming into play in the spring?
Yeah, it'll be, trying to push that off a little bit, because, right now, we don't have that money in our Board of Health budget.
No, that's all I was wondering, if maybe we get it into the town meeting warrant for May.
I think from a safety standpoint, it would probably be a good idea. You know, this is our first year at Board of Health where we have a revolving fund, because now we can use some of our revenues to offset some of our
Yep.
costs. So it's our maiden voyage. We don't know how that's gonna play out yet. We have no track record.
Right.
So,
But I would definitely do that.
Yeah,
Even if you don't use it, it's there.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
hurt to put
a place saver, yeah.
yeah, fill in a capital
And-
request form and,
Yeah, and
Add it
do it,
to our pile.
don't do it just for I shouldn't say that, do it for a little more.
Oh, yeah, because, well, this is what I would imagine is gonna happen, is when we pull the trigger on that, and it's probably gonna be before town meeting, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to get this landfill inspection done. Then there'll be, and this is a calendar thing, I guess. You know, if we're mandated to put in monitoring wells and all that,
That's the-
where's that money coming
Yep.
from? You know, I don't know, is that considered a capital expense, or is that an operating budget for the Board of Health? Do we have to, you know?
For the wells and stuff, that's gonna be capital.
yeah, so if it's a one-time thing and it's over
Okay.
10 grand, 10 grand or 5 grand, 10 grand, I think, then it becomes a capital expense.
Okay,
You know,
well,
just-
that's what this will probably be,
Oh,
then, for sure.
No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Yeah, yeah.
No doubt about it. But that's what I said, even if you could get them to say how many wells, and of course, it all depends how, like everything else, how deep they go. But if you have some kind of a ballpark number, at least you can get it in the budget.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. What that means is we're gonna have to get going on the landfill study probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks, so that we have that information, so that we can fill in the blanks
Right.
on what we're asking for on a place savings.
When's-
Or you assume we have a special town meeting in December
This,
of next year, of this year.
Well, but
that's really,
that's too late.
I think that's gonna be pushing it off to
Too
be
late.
problematic with DEP. And certainly if we contract out with someone, they're gonna wanna get paid before
Yeah.
that. So it's kinda like, yeah, we need money, I have no idea how much.
Yep.
And
That's the bad news.
That's the
Yeah,
problem
and
with
that's
that
fair.
type of business. It's very hard to come up with a number.
Right.
And I know, I'm just gonna say is, Ty and Bond might be able to help you out by saying, in your past, if you do X amount of wells, what do you think it would be?
I'll ask them.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They-
no,
they're
that's a
gonna
good point,
know.
Steve, yeah.
So that way they say, well, we might have to, let's say we do have to do 4 test wells. An average of 150 feet down is gonna cost you $5,000 per well. Well, at least you have a ballpark to put in there.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have enough, but at least you got enough to get it going. So I'd put in for the
Well, I
6.
think as in my brain, I think that's spot on. I'm gonna, ask Ty and Bond what diameter wells are usually used, and I'll probably reach out to GeoSearch and somebody else just to find out.
They'll probably give you a number. Yeah.
They're gonna give me some kind of estimate, and at least we have some kind of parameter that we can
So
sort of
probably-
hang our hat on.
Well, they'll probably tell you what it costs per foot, just like an
Well, yeah,
artesian well.
exactly,
Just like
yeah.
an artesian well. It's gonna cost you, X amount of dollars per
And then
foot.
there'll be a cost for people coming out and taking
Yeah.
the samples and, yada, yada.
That's the
it
cheap
goes
part of
on.
Have you approached Kristen or the Board of Selectmen?
They're aware of
about
this.
They're aware.
They are aware of this, yes.
But
Okay.
that would be I think that would be my suggestion, is you get a ballpark price, get something in and get it in the town warrant.
Yeah.
For the spring, for May.
Yeah.
I
The
was-
tricky question is where's the funding coming from? And that's
Yeah.
why I was at.
But that's up to, Kristen and,
That's up to us.
where the funding comes from?
We're supposed to, you're
Oh.
supposed to suggest it, we're supposed to approve it. So, I like
I-
to talk
I,
around those
I-
corners.
Free cash.
Yeah, right?
I
That's-
laid
we-
this out-
What is that? Who
I
knows
laid
what
this
that
out
is?
to the Board of Health, the Board of the
Yep.
Select Board last week,
Okay,
and they assured me that
yeah,
the monies would be there.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
think that's
I
very
mean, it's
one
the
of those-
DEP, we're fighting,
Okay.
what are
Right.
you
One
gonna
of
do?
those choices, we have no choice.
Yeah, well,
Right.
it is.
I mean,
Our
it is
choice
what it
is
is.
simple.
But it'd be nice to be able to have that, and not worry about it down the road.
yeah.
Yeah, but even if you don't have all of it, I mean, but at least get the bulk of it approved and then go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah, and, I don't see the DEP being able to argue too vehemently if we have to space some of this work out for financial reasons.
And
I mean, they don't pay our taxes, they don't contribute anything, they just cost us
The
money.
DEP, and I've been working for them for the air quality and all that stuff for 30 years. And if you work with them and not fight them, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you still you put up a wall and trying to hold them back, they're like all the other bureaucratic in the government. They'll put you down.
I think one of the things that happened kind of as a sidebar, because we used to get a DEP person down at the transfer station at least once, twice a year to inspect. COVID hit and all that went away.
Yeah.
I mean, DEP fundamentally disappeared from our horizon for 4 plus 5 years. Now they've got a new generation of engineers, there's been a lot more interest in environmental sciences over the last 10 years, and it's showing up in the workforce.
They're trying to catch up.
And they're being, I've run into several, worked with several just on these little things so far, and they're very amicable. We're here to help make things work for you. They're
Yeah.
not trying to grind us.
Right.
So far, so good.
Yep. That's what like I said, as long as you don't cross them.
And one would think they're used to working with towns and town budgets and fiscal years and,
I would think so.
Yeah.
yeah.
I would think so.
We can't be the first people to
Oh,
come to them
no,
and go,
no,
hey, we
by
can't
any
do it that
means.
way.
Yeah.
I mean, they do the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there are a lot of small communities in central Mass
Oh,
that
sure.
the DEP has to deal with. I know the same thing's going on in Princeton right now,
Mm.
so. And Princeton's intent is the same as what I think ours would be, is to get it closed so that we can get a revenue-generating solar field in, you know, which would help offset a lot of our transfer station costs.
It's a little off the subject, it's still your subject, but how are we doing with our recyclables? Are we still able to get rid of stuff and?
We are still able to get rid of things that, let me give you a little brief overview. You know, we recycle scrap metals, we recycle glass, we recycle mixed paper, newsprint, magazines, we recycle cardboard, and we recycle what they call single-stream plastics. Cardboard, typically we generate a small revenue from. Metal, we generate revenue from. Glass costs us to get rid of it.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
Scrap paper costs us to get rid of it. Plastics cost us to get rid of it. However, those costs are, no, I don't have the percentage off my head, but they're clearly less than if we were to just send everything into the waste stream.
Right.
So whatever tonnage we can divert, you know, we're saving $20, $30 a ton if we had just thrown it away. And we've been, a lot of our townspeople don't take advantage of deposit containers. So we recycle those. I mean, we sort them. The staff down there sorts them. And last year, I don't know, we brought in like $3,800 just from recyclables.
Yep.
I mean, there's a labor cost, but at the same time,
It's already there.
the right thing is being done with it. Although I don't agree, I think it should be more than a nickel a container these days, and
But
there
it-
should be a lot of other
I think
things.
that's the reason a lot of people don't do it. Because
Yeah,
even when I
it's
lived
time.
in households, like even like 20 years ago, we ended up just putting everything in recycling or on the curb.
Mhm.
Because even when you had a lot of people in the house and you saved up all these, it cost more getting the stuff in the car, finding a place that was taking them.
And none of those places work for beans.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it was basically, and then you maybe get like $10 out of it, and as I said, I think you're right. If they upped the
And
deposit.
there's been a bill in our state legislature for several years, and it just doesn't get any action. And you go into the general store or any store, and most of the beverages that are sold, there's no deposit on.
Right.
It's trash.
See,
You
like
know,
ma-
single stream water,
Yeah.
Snapple.
See,
I mean,
that's
no-
always been my bitch, basically.
What's
Maine is the only one in New England that charges you for any drink, any container.
Yeah.
Milk
yeah.
jug. Yep.
So who manages our recyclables once they leave us?
Well, everything that's pulled out of our transfer station is handled by BP Trucking, who we have a contract with for equipment and hauling. And they go to, the plastics go to a Casella facility in Auburn. The glass goes to a facility in Framingham, which they crush it and use it as an aggregate in concrete blocks and other things. Although somebody told me just the other day they heard that place shut down, so I've got to find out because I don't know where the next glass recycler is. I know there's one in Connecticut, but the cost of hauling there, it's probably cheaper to get rid of it,
Right.
which I would hate to do. Several years ago, all the glass used to go to a plant in Milford that turned it back into bottles, and then they sold it to a company in Franklin that used the bottles. But then the beverage people started shifting to aluminum cans. And it just killed the glass industry. Waste paper goes to Casella. Scrap metal goes to Framingham Salvage. We've had a long-term relationship with them, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, they've been great because you can't be everywhere all the time down at the transfer station.
Yeah.
And what people throw away sometimes, it's not really going in the right container. You know, and I've learned a hard lesson with the public. Nobody reads signs.
I know.
Nobody reads signs.
See, and then the problem with the plastics is all that plastic at one time used to go to China.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Until 2017.
Yep. And then what happened was that kind of went. Same thing with cardboard. I remember when we used to do cardboard, it was $85 a ton. All went to
Yep.
overseas.
Yep.
That went gone.
Yeah, my husband ran the Marlboro transfer station until 2020.
Chinese were
Yeah.
just throwing it in the Pacific Ocean.
But that's the problem and part of the problem is when your husband's in plastics, you know, and the thing of it is plastic bags, what we do is we actually have plastic film and stuff, and when we're trying to clean out our machines, we take the whole plastic film and put it in the machine, and it goes right out, and what it does is acts as a purge and pushes all the junk out. But that's how we get rid of ours. We just, whatever we have for our samples and stuff, that's where we get rid of it.
At one point, you could recycle plastic film. I mean, E.L. Harvey, they've sold out, but
Yeah.
I've done a couple tours there, and it was
But they
amazing.
They couldn't get rid of it afterwards.
Right. Once China pulled the plug,
Right.
because they said they're sick and tired of taking our dirty, contaminated waste.
And they were true.
It
Right.
was.
You know, and the same
We
thing.
got lazy.
The same thing as pizza boxes. You know, you're not supposed to put pizza boxes in
Well,
recyclables.
Well, that's
they've-
because they're coated in the PFAS.
Yeah.
Well, they've relaxed that a little
Have
bit.
they?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
As long as you pull out the paper and there's no
Yeah.
actual food left,
Oh,
the grease stains are
okay.
They're okay.
All right,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what I
So-
would do, Paul.
Yeah, keep us up to date.
I will. I will. And another date, we did. You know, the town did the survey of buildings and all that.
Yeah,
Our operator's building at the transfer station is.
we know.
It's pretty hurt.
Yep.
I mean, that was built by volunteers back in 1980, and the biggest expense to that would be the associated rewiring, because it all has to be disconnected, a new building put in its place, and then reconnected.
You know, if I was doing something like that myself, I would go out and buy a Reed's Ferry.
Exactly what I would do.
Set it right on blocks.
Yeah, put it right in there.
And it's cheap.
They-
For
they-
like $4,000, you
Comparatively,
can
yeah.
give a 20 by 14 shed.
Yeah, I mean, I bought one for my house, and we bought one for 19 Carter, and
Yep.
it's the way to go.
Yep.
Quality building. But like I said, it's all the associated electrical
Yep.
that would be costly. All right, thank
All right.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Paul.
I'll keep you
Thanks.
posted.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sounds
thanks
good.
for the info. I appreciate the extra info you gave us.
Sure. Any questions, just reach out.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey.
So now we're in the debate. So we don't know what free cash is. It's not been certified. It's not even been estimated.
They're saying February is June's date?
Yep.
Are you
at
kidding me?
At the hopeful date of maybe February sometime.
Yeah, do you know what caused this problem?
Yes.
Yes, it's very complicated.
I could
Give me a
say,
quick synopsis.
I could say the general idea of what I know. The uncomplicated version is all I know. That the previous it was the previous tax collector after Dennis. There was what I'm going to call an interim tax collector.
For like 1 year.
Yeah, and he left abruptly, and it was discovered that his records were a mess, and so June is cleaning it up.
Yeah, so but they had to go back, I think, they basically have the what do you say, third party, an
Oh,
outside auditor
An outside
has
auditor.
come in and gone through everything from, I think, a couple of months before he started to a few months to afterwards. But it means June has to do her regular job and
That's me.
work on this.
That's me.
And it's why the tax collector also is like one of the things that was holding up
The tax bills.
tax bills this year as well.
Yeah.
But it's there's a whole bunch of things that they have to do. So June and the TA were able to get. They're late in getting the free cash certified, but they had to get an extension from the state, and the state's deadline now is into February. So she's hoping they'll
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
be done by then.
That's more than I wanted to know.
I told you, it's it's not a very simple.
So
we
it's a matter of somebody left, didn't do their job right, and left it a mess. Basically comes down to it.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
That's my understanding.
and so so they have to do so so the
So
TA
we in the
will-
process of hiring a new person for that job?
It's been done. I've lost track on
Where?
everything is. I have to say I get the different offices mixed up, but who did they?
I have no idea.
There is. I think it's filled. The position's filled.
Okay, that's the answer.
Mhm.
It's filled.
Yeah, but
So now we get to debate as to do we want to discuss any of this without knowing how much money we have to spend, or we just want to wait?
I don't think we have a choice, do we?
We could discuss it. It doesn't. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't change anything, and we might change all our minds.
Yeah.
2 weeks. There's, apparently cemetery wants a new mower. I just found this out a few hours ago, and they submitted their paperwork to FinCom instead of to capital planning. So we have to get that straightened out. So we'll have to have cemetery in to talk about their new mower that they want.
I don't know when they did because we met last night, so I don't know when they did.
It's part of their operating budget.
Oh, okay. So, but they
I mean-
just did it.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be too big of dollars.
No.
I can't think it would because it can't be that big to go through the cemetery.
While driving, I couldn't quite figure it out.
John, did you have to bring the paperwork I gave you?
I have it, yeah.
Okay.
I thought Highway was doing all the mowing for the cemetery.
Yep, so I asked Highway, and Fred said that yes, they do all the mowing, but the mower would be specifically for cemetery, so he thought cemetery should ask for it.
I agree with that.
Okay.
And oh, there's 7 pages, that's why. I was like, I don't understand. Oh, it is here, look at that. $16,500.
What?
What?
No.
Come on.
What type of mower are they getting?
Gold plated.
Yeah.
That's almost as bad as the door for the library.
Yeah.
This is to replace a similar unit we purchased a sad 20 years ago. That's what I'm pretty sure that's not. It has given excellent service. Repairs and parts have been expensive in recent years since Highway took over mowing. They often have 2 or more working on site at the same time. Hence, we know that having this third mower available helps efficiency. We added either $400 or $4,000 to cover anticipated change of price next year. FinCom recommended it.
Of course they do.
Did we?
They never say no.
Right there, FinCom recommendation.
They never say no.
It's handwritten.
So if we
I'm sorry.
say,
I feel kind of stupid because I don't remember.
so if we
that.
say no, it doesn't matter because they've already recommended it.
Yeah. It does matter because A, they didn't recommend it because they're not allowed to. Not for the mower. You can recommend the budget.
Well, no. The thing is, we haven't even gotten to cemetery yet. We've done the big ones first but the thing is, we had Highway last night, and they were talking about how they hire for the summer.
Yeah.
They hire
Kids.
seasonal workers to do
Yeah.
all the mowing, and they didn't say anything bad
About a mower.
about a mower. And this is why we may want to actually recheck with highway, because if highway, it sounds like highway's the one doing the mowing.
So let me read to you what Fred said this afternoon when I
Okay.
asked him that question. If I can figure out how to get out of this email. There we go. The other question I would have for cemetery is that we just bought them a mower, like 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
4 years ago.
Cemetery?
So cemetery. So they have two. They have two mowers. I'm going to say one is 5 years old and one is 7 years old, or one is 4 years old and one is 7 years
What
old.
was the one you just said, 20
He
years?
said 20 years.
Oh.
So
Well,
I don't.
because after you said, you did read down, and then you said they wanted a fourth mower, so if they have a
A
20-year.
third
third mower,
mower.
So that would be the fourth one, because they got two fairly new ones and one 20 years old.
My understanding was they want to replace the 20-year-old
Yes.
one. Yeah. So to
So
yeah.
then we'd be down to three again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Fred says, yes, we do the mowing of the 3 cemeteries. However, I told Bob that I thought it was his decision on the mower replacement, as it is his department. He did discuss it with me, and we both agreed. I'm not sure why it was in the operating budget.
Okay, so basically Fred said that the cemetery commission's responsible for requesting the mower.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But that makes sense, because that should be in their budget.
Okay.
In actual reality, the seasonal workers should be in their budget.
Well, no, we had a change a few years ago, and I was on FinCom when we did this. It was the problem with trying to manage all the facility needs, and it was a lot easier to have the cemetery work under highway.
And they don't just mow cemetery.
Yeah, I
they
know,
mow
but the
other
problem with that is.
But what
and
happened
the
was,
the problem with that is, then Fred's budget is higher.
yeah, but we actually made some shifts. So one of the shifts that was done was that money that used to be in cemetery went into highway to pay for these workers, but it also meant that it was more like you had the same people doing it, and it was easier to have Fred hire more people than for cemetery looking for a person to do the work
That's not the right
and
way.
billing why don't you why do you
That's not
think?
the way it's normally done for budget procedures.
No, this was actually how it was changed. It was
I'm just saying this,
it's normal here because that's how it got changed a few years ago.
but that's,
But it
I'm
was,
not
it
getting,
was
but that's,
I was on FinCom when they were doing.
I would have fought that one.
Well, Barry didn't fight it because it went through.
That's because you're talking about Barry.
Mm.
I shouldn't have said that.
So
That's all right.
I can't remember what the exact issue was, but
It doesn't matter, if that's already the way it's set up, it really doesn't
but it's
matter.
been like that for a few years. But part of the idea was that since that was a town maintenance anyway.
But, basically, what you're saying is, there would be no difference with the mower because it's the same way.
So if it's only for the cemetery,
But,
the mowers are only for the cemetery.
But how can you guarantee that if
Yeah, I know
highway
it.
is mowing everything?
That's why that's why I have a question is
Yeah.
because
because didn't we isn't the mower for Freddie on one of these this year?
Mower vac system replacement
Yeah,
for 40 grand,
yeah.
39.5. Now I don't remember what that was.
I
It
think
doesn't
that's,
sound like the same thing.
I think that's the big one that when they do the soccer fields. Because how big of a lawnmower can you use to go through between stones?
I mean, they have a fairly, like a 4-foot deck, 3-foot deck. It's a
No, mine's
Yeah.
52, and that's only
52
that,
inch, yeah.
my
Yeah.
52 only cost me $2,900.
well, this is probably one of the fancy stand-up ones.
Yeah,
So my point is, I will ask cemetery to come in and answer all these questions.
Yeah.
right.
And bring a quote.
And we will. There might be one in there that
Yeah.
I didn't get to.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you send that out to us when you get a chance?
I can do it right now. And then library. So I'll start with the less controversial thing. Library is going to remove their request for the ADA study.
Yep, I saw that.
and then there's a quote for the door. Is what you have in front of you the
Yep.
quote for the door?
Yep.
I didn't read it, so what's your,
$20,280. You're buying a door for $13,800 for the door.
so, but what I understand is the door is an odd shape.
Was it
It's,
gonna be
it's,
replaced?
they're
Why
buying
they
it,
put
they're
the
buying it
standard?
from Captiva,
Yeah.
and they're down in Somerset. It's a custom door shop. Well, if it's an odd size, why don't they make it fit for a standard size?
Right.
mean, you-
Because, so it said in the email, wait, I just moved off the,
But it doesn't say it doesn't say that in this, on this. Because this door with the dimension I have is nothing weird. It's a model 8069 door.
so
Yeah.
in the email that I sent you guys that had that information attached, there's a couple of paragraphs from the contractor that said, this is figured at prevailing wage. I'm also attaching the cut sheet for the door for viewing.
Yeah, I got that right here.
It's a lot for a door, but a more standard fiberglass door wouldn't fit in the opening. We would have to build the opening in and change everything so it would look completely different. That's what the contractor says.
And I'm saying is, and my thought is, you can pick up a fiberglass door, 6 foot by 6 door,
Yeah.
for $3,200.
Yeah, something doesn't make sense.
So you mean to say, I mean, just kind of show you. I don't know if I have it here still. I don't.
Oh.
But I went online, and some of those fiberglass doors are gorgeous.
Prevailing wage is $150 an hour, though.
What?
Yeah, but that's a lot of hours for $10,000.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Well, I'm just saying, it's they don't list they list labor,
Yeah, $5,000.
$5,000.
So at 150
So
an hour.
What did you say, $150 an hour?
Yep.
$150 an hour times 10, that's only 1,500.
30 hours.
30 hours.
33,333 is what they say it's gonna.
So they're talking 4 days to pull that door out and put one in.
No.
That's what they're saying.
And another $1,000 to paint it.
Yeah, and then another $1,000 to paint it, stain it. No, this.
Another $5,000?
there's-
1,000.
So the whole package is
100.
$20,280.
I read that thing.
And it's like, they're going to a custom door house. It's not like, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I
Do
just think that's an awful lot of money to put a door in.
Do you want me to invite Victoria back?
Well, is that the only place they got a quote from?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. These guys are in Hudson. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe we ask her to reach out. Would she mind reaching out to a different? Do you have anybody to suggest, Steve?
nah, I don't off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
I don't know.
It
I
sounds
don't
like,
either.
but it sounds like if that's the only one they got, getting a couple different companies' quotes would
Right.
probably be a good idea. I had, when I lived in an old house in Arlington,
Yeah,
and I had to get plumbing work done, it was amazing how, like, for some simple plumbing work, because it was an older house,
I mean, it makes my house is the same way.
every contractor who came in had a different plan to do
Yeah.
with everything that was there, and it would vary
Yeah.
dramatically in price.
Hey,
So,
another question maybe you guys might know is, being a town project, why do we have to get a building permit?
Because you have to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Just curious.
I don't know the answer to that question. That's a Christian question.
I mean, we're sending a check to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make any sense to me, but maybe that's the way they do it for cash balance type thing.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I look at it, that's kind of foolish.
Yeah.
that is a Christian question, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because wasn't it used to mean that all the inspectors made their money by being paid for the actual inspections? And we've moved some of them to
Mhm.
being salaried or waged.
Yeah.
So if they were getting paid per inspection, then we wouldn't
Yeah,
have
we
to.
haven't paid per inspection for years. You know? I mean, it's, I understand that would be the case, but I was just curious, why we would do that.
No, it's a good question.
But then, of course, I know for the new fire station addition they're doing, they're being inspected. Whether we paid for permits, I don't know, but I know they're being inspected.
Mhm.
And that should be, it's a more.
Well, especially, the fire sprinkler system and the wiring, stuff like that, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I said, hi Victoria, us here at Capital Planning are wondering if you wouldn't mind getting another quote or two for the door. There are concerns that the existing quote seems quite high.
Mhm.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had a contractor do anything in a long time, Actually, I do have a guy. I'll ask him if he's available to do the quote. Rick Swanfeld in Marlboro. He did my whole upstairs.
Mhm.
Gutted it all out. We did the
Yeah.
whole thing over, yeah. But that was a lot of years ago.
Yeah, some of my favorite people have retired.
Yep, and that's what happens.
We
All right,
do
so
that.
what do you want to put on the next on the board other than this? Anybody want this?
No, getting-
What's that?
You want a paper copy?
Sure.
I can print another.
I couldn't print mine.
Yeah, I can print another one out at home.
Okay.
Okay,
And do we have any more of those, any more paper from the school committee and all that stuff floating
No,
around?
not that I'm aware of. How about that?
All right, I'll have to get John to give it back to me so I can make copies.
Oh,
I think we're short, we were short some
can
of
I
those.
save my copies in here? Can't we use the
I think
copier?
this is what you gave me, right?
Yeah. So that way there, I'll make, if anybody else wants it, I'll make some copies.
I would love copies, because
Right.
I might have sent mine home with Eloise.
Well, we were short copies that meeting.
Yeah.
So I'll make, John, you want a copy?
Yes, yeah.
All right, so I'll make
You
up,
can make one, yeah.
I'll make a couple sets.
Yeah.
Oh,
Make them
no.
up at work tomorrow.
You gotta work? No.
Huh?
You're working?
Yeah, but I'll make them at work, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know,
What do you have on top there? just a
this is
spreadsheet?
Berlin Boylston Regional School Committee, the original,
Their list?
yeah.
Okay. I have their capital list?
Oh,
I
that's,
don't
yeah.
see,
I got
This is this
the
thing.
whole capital improvement one, which is the fire and the highway and the library, police.
yeah, I have all the quotes
Yeah.
as well.
That's okay, I can make
Yep.
some of these up.
That would be great, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any desire to discuss things? I don't know that I see a point, but if you guys wanna talk about them, I am here.
I would just have to, look at some of these things again that, I'm glad to see the fire department extended things out every year
Yeah,
for some of this stuff. Ambulance kinda bugs me, but that's for fiscal year 27,
that's not this year.
okay? All right, so,
I was just gonna say on the schools, they're back at, Berlin Boylston is scheduled for February 12th at FinCom.
Hmm.
Hopefully to get their as final as possible numbers. And then, I guess the fact that February 19th is Aspet Valley. And I don't see the cemetery on here, so I will,
I think my biggest problem I'm gonna have is the school.
Yeah.
I got a lot of issues with that.
I mean,
I mean, I know we can't line item do anything, but
We can't lie, but they also have to, it sounded like they still had to work through what they were requesting for this year
Right.
and future years. And did Kristen get back to you with the questions we had?
Yes.
did you ever get any response back from Kristen on the email you sent last time in regards to the HVAC for Berlin Memorial for the town to pay it and get the money, recoup the money back from?
I did.
Okay, well,
Yes.
do
I'm fi-
one thing first.
Yep. Nope. Because it's all the same.
It's all the same email.
It's
Oh.
all the same email. Um, Here we go. Okay. Okay. So let me start with my question. So question number 1 sort of is a grant possible for the Berlin Memorial School roof project as the regional school district did for Boylston?
Mm-hmm.
Kristen says there's an MSBA funding which was discussed last year. The school has to apply for those funds, so that's up to them.
Okay.
Then I asked about the mini splits. And Kristen says, in regards to the mini splits, we would have to have a separate town meeting article to reserve those funds so they aren't given to the school. And that would likely result in the town needing to manage the project, which we do not have the capacity to do. They have a lot more staffing than we do. I would rather give them the amount minus the rebate for the project. We pay one bottom line number for the schools, so they could float the funding from their budget until they get their rebate.
So they get a quote of 400,000. We know it's roughly 40%, so you give them 60% of the
220,000?
cost.
Yeah.
I would go with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't object to that one.
Nope, not at all. Nope, not at all.
So those were the third question was that I had in my list for Kristen was, when are we getting free cash certification? And we still don't know that answer, so.
So I think, in all honesty, I don't want to really hash it out unless Eloise is here, to be honest with you.
I
In
wouldn't
all
argue with you.
fairness to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also seems kind of, without a number.
Right.
It seems really hard. We can come up with all sorts of scenarios.
Right.
But we'd still have to have, once we got the number, we still have to meet again anyway.
And
Yeah.
we'd probably come up with a 15th scenario that worked better once we have a number.
But, and
w-
everything changes.
And when they expecting that, the end of February?
Oh, I was going to reach out. Maybe.
Yeah,
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
expectations is the end of February.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the case, when does all this have to be done by? March 15th?
I mean, close to it. Kristen would know the exact
Yeah.
date, but
That's okay.
theoretically, we're supposed to be done by January 31st.
Yeah, I know, but we can't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when would you like to do another meeting? I mean, it's kind of fruitless to have one in
Do you want to just
3 or 4 weeks. I mean,
wait until, like, maybe if we scheduled for the last week of February?
I have no problem with whatever you want.
And then if we got,
It doesn't make sense to meet again when we don't have any numbers.
I wouldn't argue with you. And to be honest, I only continued with today's meeting
Because of Paul.
because of Paul.
Which is good. I'm
then-
glad you did that.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so either,
But-
so if you want to think about the 27th of February, is that what you're thinking about?
Sure.
Are you going to be around?
Yep.
Okay, that's okay with me.
Okay. How about everybody else? Thursday, the 27th of
John?
February?
27th of
fine, yeah.
February, all right with you?
Yeah, 27th of February.
Yep.
I was just calling up,
You were calling what?
wait, I want to make sure I have the right file. I have a cheat sheet for the budgets.
Ooh.
I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right one.
School, just a quick look. Do they have any quotes on this thing, or is it just pull the numbers?
Oh, all the quotes are right here.
They have quotes.
Oh, they
Yeah.
do?
They do. They
Yeah,
give us all,
because I,
quotes after quotes after
Yeah.
quotes.
So for the
For
finance
example,
committee,
elevator control replacement, $195,000.
oh, you ain't even seen it. You haven't
What
seen
the
nothing
hell?
yet.
so basically, every Wednesday, finance committee's having different
Mm-hmm.
groups come. And then the last date is February 26th. So that's for presentations of all the different groups and committees. We're supposed to complete our feedback by March 5th. And March 12th is our scheduled date to make our final votes. And then March 19th is the deadline to submit the
I'll run the
FinCom
week, yeah.
report and recommendations to the select
If
board.
I make them, I'll
Okay.
try to remember to throw my
So-
check for the weekend and give them to you.
So,
Okay.
Put FinCom.
Yeah, this is,
this is all also assuming nothing goes.
Right, south or upside down.
Yeah, because, if we don't have information out,
there's
we
none of that,
can't.
there's,
I mean, we do have a hard deadline for getting the warrant.
replacing
out. But-
replacing
Right.
security cameras, 130 grand.
Plus, building automation, another, what the hell is that?
You know?
Did you miss the meeting?
Yeah,
I
he did.
You did.
He was
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
elsewhere. That's
He
why I
was
couldn't get a hold of
elsewhere.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, my grandkids had a Christmas show, so I gotta,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
I
You know.
should have told you, but I forgot, yeah.
gotta do it.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries.
And this one here is West Berlin Memorial. That's 300,000. Window treatment blinds, 17 grand. Replace middle school furniture, 206,000.
Furnace? Oh,
Furniture, middle school. And you know, I laugh, but in this day and age, kids have gotten bigger.
I know.
And he was telling us some of the kids sit with their legs like this at their desk because they can't get them under the desk.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
said that they think they got, something happened and they got the wrong size.
Yep.
Way back when.
Yeah, and then somebody else was telling me that it's because when they moved, the sixth grades used to be in a different location
Yeah.
and then got
It
moved there.
Used to be in Berlin Memorial.
Yeah, so what happened was when they moved the furniture wasn't really
Well.
middle school furniture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that one, as much as I hate $200,000, it makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got
Well, and
kids.
they did say that's something they can spread out over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things is, you hate spending money, but some of it actually makes real sense.
Yeah.
And I can imagine a kid that's 6 feet tall underneath one of these,
And some
Yeah.
of them are,
Desks.
yeah.
Right.
and you're in there, and how long? You're in a class for 40, 45
Yeah.
minutes?
They
You know,
tell you, sit on the floor.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds like a game plan,
Okay, I just scheduled us for the 27th.
Thank you.
okay?
I feel like there was one more thing.
Is there anything else we're supposed to be discussing or?
I don't think so. Not that I can recall. Okay.
I wish sometime you would get a break with all this stuff, the school department. All these building issues and, what the hell is going on?
I feel that I personally am not a fan. I voted no against a regional school district. just because of the capitulations we made in that agreement. I'm not against the schools, I'm against the agreement we made. And I feel like, they've struggled since then. And I wasn't involved before then, so I don't know, they might have struggled before then, but just to,
Well, it
and
bothers
they're
me.
trying to catch up. too.
What bothers me is, Tohoto, 12 years old, and they're already having all kinds of problems with the elevator controls and the server. It's like,
I don't understand that.
Oh, they
stuff,
don't
no.
build them like they used to.
I know, but, and the other things is, we always wait too long before we it's always
Yeah.
becomes an emergency.
Well, the sense I'm also getting is that the school district, because now it has 3 buildings, is really pushing for equity across to 3 buildings, so that everybody has the same things. Like if Boylston has mini splits, then Berlin should have mini splits.
Yeah.
And they're also, one of the reasons that they were plugging having the multiple schools in one district was that they could share resources. So when
Right.
somebody goes from, some people have a full-time job, but they spend a few years in each
Right,
school,
then they could, yep.
and they have totally different experiences
Yep.
for working. And I didn't realize that they had mentioned something about, I'm not sure if it was here or at FinCom, because of things like IEPs, when they have to take care of the student's needs, then they have to be able to provide the student with a comfortable space to work, which means that if you can't regulate the airflow in a classroom, you may be contravening the IEP recommendation.
Yeah.
So I think what they're dealing with is they have to deal, it's also kind of interesting, because at the school, they have several hundred constituents with these students. And they all have their own needs, and they have to basically aggregate all that and then make the request up. So they actually have.
It's both a complex and a complicated system.
It's it's complex, but it's also they have their students and their employees, and it is like the largest part of the budget.
Right.
And it's funny because when I talk to people, I don't think they just see the school as like one item on the budget, and it's like, no, you don't understand. That's like big.
Right.
That's and there's some things that, like you were saying, is like we were talking about the blinds down for the school. And them blinds were original from 20 years ago. Well, it makes sense when you got the sun beating in there. It's uncomfortable. It's hot. And
But it also messes with controlling the temperature.
That's right.
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 With the
And seeing your computer screen in front of you as you're being
Yeah.
blinded by the
So
sun beam
so
coming in.
some of those things make all kinds of sense, but we shouldn't have to do it all one shot. These guys should have been saying, okay, we're going to do this part of it, spend X amount of dollars. The next year we're going to do this part and spend X amount of dollars. Now they kind of say, we got to do them all.
Well, what I got out of the discussion is A, they're new, and then B, they're trying to prepare us for all the things. So I think we can certainly come to them and go, you get this year, but you get this next year.
But it sounds like that they started without any, as far as it sounded like, until they got there was no 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you see-
they want a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
So the
for themselves.
superintendent basically said he only had a couple of weeks to get something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it also
Yeah.
sounded like he didn't have anything, he didn't have access to anything.
No, he was.
Yeah.
This guy was a super, right?
Yes, that guy was the facilities guy. wasn't
Aaron
his
Aaron
title.
was the.
There was an interim financial,
Yeah,
Was
this
the
guy here was the
financial guy.
superintendent.
Was he the superintendent or was
Yeah.
weren't
This
there?
one guy here was Aaron Osborne. Well, anyways, but I thought he was a used car salesman.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was the financial guy.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah.
But yeah, or maybe he was the financial guy.
I think
I
he
liked
was a
him.
financial guy.
Okay.
But this guy, he was, he's definitely sounded like a used car salesman.
Everything's gonna be just fine.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
We got anything else?
nope, I don't think so. So I'll adjourn us at 8:08.
great.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Let's
Thank
go
you.
home. Dinner.
Good meeting, thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, I don't think the next one's going to be as quick.
No, we're gonna have some. I
Well,
unfortunately,
it
I feel
depends
like,
on how much money is in the free cash, because if there's no money in the free cash, could
Right.
it be,
right? Then nobody gets anything.
Right.
yeah.